I love to bake. Breads, pastries, I really appreciate the chemistry. A quick go to favorite of mine are biscuits. Made with a handful of ingredients you probably have sitting in the kitchen already. You can make a baker's dozen in less than an hour. Quality is very important to me, so I always start with the best ingredients. The flour we'll be using is a gluten free flour from the local farmer's market. The butter I prefer to use is unsalted, European style Irish butter, which yields a higher fat percentage, providing for a richer taste and an all around better cook. Organic buttermilk, Himalayan pink salt, baking soda, apple cider vinegar. I tend to eyeball the work, but I stick to 2 cups of flour and about 3 tablespoons of butter. I've learned that chilling the flour, the butter, and keeping the buttermilk cold promotes flakiness as well as a more risen biscuit. As you can see here, we've already cut the butter, which is about 3 tablespoons worth. Next, you'll see me dusting it with flour. What I like to do is cover the butter up, and as I cut it, I keep it dusted with flour. The reason being that it separates the butter from each other, allowing it to not stick once you keep cutting it. Um, when you're making biscuits, especially biscuits that you want to have to be, buttery, nice and flavorful, you want to have it to where the butter is evenly distributed throughout the dough. And so you cut it and you chop it up into bite-sized, pea-sized pieces, and this allows for a more even distribution. So this will take about a few minutes. Just keep cutting and cutting until you get it down to the appropriate size. Okay, now as you can see, the butter has, been reduced in size. It's now more divided up, cut up. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to now add the butter in with the flour. And so once you add it in there, just mix it up, get it in there nice and even. And once you get done with that, put it back into the fridge for a couple of minutes. Like I said before, it's good to keep the flour and the butter and the buttermilk cold whenever you're making buttermilk biscuits because uh, with that chill, once you get it out of the fridge, the condensation occurs, and when you're making the dough, putting it into the oven, that condensation, the steam, will begin to, rise, and that will help create for a better rise in your biscuits and the dough. And so after we mix it in there, we're going to put it back into the fridge for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to take it out and add the rest of the ingredients. Now, after it's been in there for a couple of minutes, using a metal bowl helps speed up the process. We're now adding in the baking soda, and then we're going to be putting in some salt, just for taste. And then we'll be mixing in the apple cider vinegar. And when you add baking soda and vinegar and acid and a base together, a reaction always occurs, as you can see here, and that is what also helps lead to the rise of the dough. So you just mix that in there, get that in there nice and good, and then we're going to be adding in the buttermilk. And so what I like to do with the buttermilk, I don't have any specific portion size for adding in the buttermilk. I just pour it little by little, like I did here, just a little bit every time. Once you keep stirring it up, it begins to clump up. And what you want to do is you want to get it to where the dough is, it's not overly soaked, but it's just enough to where everything sticks together and it's able to come off of the side of the bowl. Everything sticks together to it unto itself, and then you put it out there onto the cutting board. And so we just keep adding, mixing and mixing, folding and folding, until everything seems to be at the nice texture and portion that you need it. And so now we have it where we would like it. I'm putting it onto a dusted cutting board. That way the dough doesn't stick onto the board. And so you just put everything on there. And we're going to begin molding and shaping the dough. It doesn't necessarily require too much manipulation. This is a gluten-free flour. The more you fold dough, The more you fold flour that has gluten in it, the gluten becomes stronger and stronger. Since we're using a gluten-free dough, we don't necessarily have that problem, but it's always good to use as little hands-on uh, manipulation of the dough as possible whenever you're making biscuits, because what you want are the folds. You want those pockets of air to allow uh, the rise, which is what we're looking for. So I folded it once, folding it twice, and just press it down, and you just fold and press, fold and press. I usually do it 2 to 3 times. I think I'll do it one more time with this, and then after that, we move it on. Now we're closer to putting it in the oven. What I'm doing now is the cutting part, uh, cutting the dough up. Usually, you can use like a cookie cutter if you'd like. I have those, but I just prefer to streamline the process and use the knife. As you notice the technique, I'm going in a straight up and down fashion when I cut the dough. The reason being that if you were to cut into it and then slice it, bringing it forward or backwards instead of just going straight up or down, um, that would seal in the sides, and by sealing in those sides, that would prevent the rising of the biscuit. And so as I cut it into these squares, I'm placing it onto the tray. It's an ungreased tray. I'm just putting it straight on the tray, and I'm putting them fairly close together, almost touching. Don't be afraid if they do touch, uh, because the closer you keep them together, the better it will rise, because the steam and will allow to work together, and they'll be able to rise together better that way. So here I am, just separating the dough and putting them together onto the tray. Afterwards, we'll be putting it into the oven for about 20 minutes on 385. Now these biscuits, these are just the neutral flavored, your good old-fashioned original buttermilk biscuits. These are good for whatever you like to use them for. Using them as a side for your dish, for your dinner. Using it for breakfast. Make a good honey butter. Um, these are just regular, all around, good old-fashioned biscuits. I use them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Once I make them, I eat it all up. And so we're at the last piece of the biscuit here. As you can see, it makes almost a full tray, pretty much a full pan worth, more than a baker's dozen. And here, actually, I've already taken it out of the oven, um, and here I'm just putting some butter onto the tops of the biscuits, which makes for helps it brown up better. This is the finished product, as you can see. Really nice. They taste great. Got a crispy outside, soft inside, and so there you have it. Under an hour, not too hard, pretty fun to make. I do this all the time.